Hi, I'm Nikki. Thank you for joining us at the Virtual Greek Festival. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make Spanakopita. We are going to do it in a pan, but I'm also going to do it in small appetizer sizes as well. So you can do it as a side dish or an appetizer. So all of our recipes are from our cookbook, and I will be giving you the recipe exactly as it is in here, so you can follow along and do the same thing at home. We are going to start with our spinach. Spanakopita is a spinach and cheese pie. The recipe calls for 4 packages of frozen spinach, and you need to thaw them out overnight, let them drain, and then I also like to put them in a towel to get the excess moisture out. If the spinach is too moist, then your pie will not be nice and flaky, and we love to have the phyllo nice and flaky on top. So I'll show you how to do that in the towel. Just take one of your kitchen towels, put the spinach in there, and then you're just going to wrap it up. Take your towel and you can twist one end one way and one end the other way. And you see the moisture. This has been draining for several hours and there is still quite a bit of moisture in there. So you want to get as much as you can out. And it just makes for a much nicer finished product. Then we'll put this spinach on the side for a moment and start getting our next piece ready. We'll let that continue to drain if it needs to do that. Now our recipe asks that we melt the butter next. This is going to be to get our phyllo together. So I've got some in there. I'll put the other part in there. It's 1 cup. I'm going to keep it going over low heat to melt as we do the next part. Okay, we'll preheat the oven to 350 degrees to get ready for our pita. Now, in the saute pan, we're going to heat 1/4 cup of oil and add 1 medium onion that has been chopped. We'll do that over medium heat. We'll keep going to get our next piece ready. I have 4 eggs, which I'm going to whisk. Put that in my bowl with softened cream cheese. My cream cheese is at room temperature. And we're just going to mix all of that. Okay, and I have 1.5 cups of feta cheese. I bought the feta cheese just like this, already crumbled. You can buy it in the block and crumble it yourself if you'd like. Whatever's easier for you will work just fine. I don't want the feta to be completely smooth, so I'm not going to do that. It's nice to have pieces of it in there, and you get a nice piece of it when you're finished product and your beautiful Spanakopita. Next, I'll add my spinach. And we will mix that in. Try to get it incorporated. You will still have pieces of cheese separated a little bit. It won't be 100% smooth, and that's the way you want it. Try to lift up from the bottom. You've got the eggs and cheese in the bottom. Now we've got our oil heated, and we're going to put the onions in there to saute. We need to put onions and our dill. This recipe calls for 1/4 cup of chopped fresh dill. I'll do that right now. Okay, I'll add some fresh dill, give it a stir, and we'll let that saute for just a few minutes until the onions are soft. We don't really want them browned, just till they're soft. Okay, so our onions and dill are softened now, and we can go ahead and add that to our spinach and cheese mixture. Looks great. Get all of that in there. We'll also add 1/8 teaspoon ground pepper. After you've tried these recipes, you can adjust seasonings as you like, however you like them. If you want to add a little more, that's fine. We don't typically add salt to this because the feta is salty to begin with. Just going to mix this all together, try to get the onions incorporated. So first I'm going to make the pita like a pie in the pan here. We'll start by grabbing our butter, which is nice and melted. It's still nice and warm. We'll coat the bottom of our pan with butter before we begin, so nothing sticks to the bottom. We don't want to lose any of this. Your phyllo will come in a package. There's typically 2 packages in the box like this. So we'll open it up, and the phyllo can have some variety to it. It's not always exactly the same. It depends on how it was frozen in the market. It depends on how it traveled. And sometimes it just depends on the humidity in our area at the time. This particular one is nice and moist and pliable, and it'll be easy to work with. But if you feel like the temperature or the weather is a little bit drier, you can put a damp paper towel or a damp towel over it. It'll be just fine to keep it from drying out. Or if you see that as you're using it, it's drying out, you can do that. Now you see my phyllo stuck together here. And it'll be just fine anyway. Especially on the bottom layers, it doesn't really have to be perfect. If they break or they tear, which is what mine's doing, you can still work them in. And we'll just cover the bottom of the pan with this first one, and it will never show or taste any different when it's all done. So this is just fine. I'll add some butter to moisten this, and it will still be nice and flaky when it's done with the butter after it's baked. We're going to put 10 sheets of phyllo on the bottom. Now they're coming off a little bit easier. Here we go. And they don't have to be perfectly smooth. Don't worry about it. I know a lot of people get nervous when they're working with phyllo and they're afraid that something like this is going to happen. It's just fine. Not a problem. 1, 2. 3. Whoop. Hoping I get a nice straight one for you to see what that looks like too here. Okay, this one looks perfect. 4. Kind of tap a little butter around the edges first to hold my phyllo sheet in place, and then I do the center, but you'll find a method that works well for you. 5. If your pan is a little different size, you can cut the phyllo to fit, or you can also fold it if you need to do that. 6. I also turn my pan halfway through. 7, because I know that even though I try to do everything evenly all the way around, it doesn't always turn out that way. So that way I figure I'm doing the same thing on each side by the time I'm all done with it. 9 and 10. Okay, that's our last one for the base of the Spanakopita. We'll add the filling next. I'm going to reserve a little bit of the filling on the side just so I can show you the other way of doing it and folding it into triangles. But I will put almost all of this in there, and then we'll just spread it out. I find it a little bit easier if I sort of put dollops all around rather than putting it all in the middle and then trying to spread it. It's very nice and spreadable. The cream cheese was soft, and the warm onions and olive oil helped on that as well. Spread it to all the edges as best we can. Try to make it as level as you can. That's it. Nice and smooth on top. And we will continue with our phyllo. We'll put 8 more sheets on the top. So 10 on the bottom, 8 on the top. Be sure to stir your butter. Make sure that everything's incorporated, because as you melt it, the solids and the liquids separate just a little bit. The end of this roll seems to be a little bit better, but if you're afraid that the bottom ones might be cracked or ripped, you can always keep a couple of nice smooth ones on the side so you can finish it off with a smooth one on top. And you don't have to worry about being perfect, as we said. Everything comes together really nicely in the oven. Very nice. So you see, we worked pretty quickly with the phyllo. It didn't have a chance to dry out. If I had been interrupted or something else had happened, I would have put a damp towel on it or something so that it would not dry out. Either a paper towel or a dish towel that's just slightly damp, not too wet, or else you will melt the phyllo. You don't want to do that. So before you bake this, it is very important to score it. We don't need to cut all the way through, but we do have to score at least the top so that you won't have to crush the phyllo when it's baked, because that's what will happen if you try to cut the whole thing after it comes out of the oven. And also it will allow the heat to get in there and cook more evenly. We'll cut this into 2-inch squares now. We'll cut the other direction as well. Just cutting through that phyllo, not going all the way down. I'm going to spritz it with water. This is just plain water, and this will prevent the top from browning too much as it cooks, so that the interior, the spinach and cheese, has a chance to cook really well before the top is done. Okay, so now we'll put it in our oven, preheated to 350 degrees. As the cookbook says, for this size of pan, we will cook it for 30 to 35 minutes. So it will be nice and golden brown on top, and that's how you know it's ready. So check it, all ovens are a little bit different. Here we go. So now we'll look at making them in the little triangular shapes. I find that the easiest way to do is take the phyllo out of the package and to cut it before you unwrap it. So we'll cut this about 2 inches wide, just right through the package like that. Put that one on the side. Unwrap this and put it to one side of your work area. Now with the Spanakopita, we're going to use 2 pieces of phyllo because the spinach might still have some moisture in it, so we don't want it to leak through and ruin it. It'll get nice and crispy this way without having that extra moisture. I'm just going to use the 2 sheets like that. I'm going to butter the top sheet. You don't need to worry about buttering both of them. It will still get nice and flaky and crispy. Just use adequate butter and it'll go right through. It'll be fine, no problem. Okay, I find the easiest way to do this is just take a couple of teaspoons, get a small amount, put it in one corner, and then we're going to fold it like a flag. So we'll take the corner and come up and make it like a right angle, like your little triangle. Then you'll go up again, you'll go over, up again, over, up again, and over. And then it just fits perfectly. You can put a little butter on this side, sort of where the end last piece is, to seam it, right on the seam to keep it together, and then you can just put it on your pan. And put that in the oven, the same temperature, 350 degrees. They should take a little less to cook. Check them at about 20 minutes to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing, and when they become golden brown, they are ready to go. We're going to grab this out of the oven, and it smells fabulous. And it looks beautiful, perfectly browned. It's cut. We'll just take our knife and be sure it's cut all the way through. And we did need to cut just a little bit more. So we'll go through it one more time. It looks marvelous. Nice and flaky on top. Delicious. Perfect. Thank you for watching me make Spanakopita today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing our culture and our traditions to you. This recipe will be available on our festival website, but you can also purchase our cookbook, The Festival of Greek Flavors, through festivalofgreekflavors.com. A portion of the proceeds of this book goes to our women's organization, and this past few months we have been helping to give meals to first responders, to help those in need, meals for the homeless, and we will continue to do that with our good works that we do from this cookbook. So we'd love to have you support us. I'm sorry we don't have a real festival for you this year, but you will see us again next year.